Hello and welcome to Original Soundchat, where video game music is a work of art. On each episode, it's our goal to help you learn about 2 soundtracks from the world of games, as well as the people, stories, and critical tracks behind them. My name is DeVader.
And I'm Peter Spezia. We're brought to you by Anonymous Dinosaur and Rhymes with Asia. It's time to appreciate great OSTs and the games that they come from, without getting too bogged down in music theory. Up first this week for our 2 games is 2013's Beyond Two Souls, David Cage's second PlayStation 3 adventure, which featured big-time Hollywood actors, as well as supernatural scenes told out of chronological order.
Following that is a board game adventure featuring various minigames and the possibility that up to 4 people will never be friends again. 1999's Mario Party 2.
It's 2! There are 2 games with 2 in the title! Also, you highlighted how one of the scenes in Beyond Two Souls involves a party being ruined by circumstances, and well, that just happens on the regular with Mario Party, specifically with 2 even.
That's like Mario Party's whole deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, Joe, how are you doing, and what are you playing?
I actually haven't been playing a lot of games. I did one more demo from the Steam Festival before it ended, which is a game that was called Lust from Beyond. It was one that I had seen talked about a lot. It's a horror game with very adult themes, and I was really digging it until it revealed that it had sanity effects, or a sanity effect, I guess I should say, where it randomly reverses and unreverses your controls at random intervals of time.
Oh, that's actually terrible.
Yeah, it actually legitimately just ruined the whole game for me, and I stopped after that. But I also have been playing the next Smash Pieces bonus game, which should be out within this week, I think, at time of release. It's Sonic Adventure 2, and I'm not going to be very nice to it.
That's unfortunate. I like that game, but it's got problems and you need childhood experience with it, I think. No one should go and play that fresh.
I have at this time finished both routes and unlocked the last episode, but I haven't done it yet, so we're getting there.
It's notably harder, I will say that. There's some difficulty there. I finished Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. It sure was a divergent timeline path, I guess. It's fun for what it tries to do, but I almost hope that there was like something in there where it's like, but that's non-canon anyway. Like, just forget about that. That didn't happen, but seemingly no. A fun Muso. I've got to have a game in between whatever I'm playing next before Persona 5 Strikers. I can't just go back-to-back Muso. That's just crazy. So I think Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury will be up next.
Yeah, I haven't bought it yet, because my one game for February is Persona. I'm really trying to hold real steady on only buying one game a month. I haven't bought Little Nightmares 2 either for the same reason, but from what I hear, Bowser's Fury is very worth it.
So let's talk about some composer follow-up news. The different composers we've talked about on this show, they're still doing great things. Their work is getting repurposed in some way, and we like to talk about some of the big headlines from the gaming industry in the past week. And oh boy, I started out one of these days this past week. Someone was talking about, it was like a Jeopardy question, and talking about like something in Iraq. And the thought of Fallujah, and I'm like, why'd that come? Oh, right, that old game 6 Days in Fallujah somehow came to mind. It was Abu Ghraib was the answer, the clue, if you're wondering. But then, not 10 minutes later, I look on the internet, and 6 Days in Fallujah, the canceled 2009 video game by Konami, is being brought back. Not by Konami, but by another company. And it's launching for PC and consoles this year in 2021. Why are we talking about this? Halo and Destiny's Marty O'Donnell is tied to the project, reportedly. Now, it's weird to see this game being brought back after 12 years, but we got to put in the disclaimer that there is speculation out there that the U.S. Department of Defense may be behind this revival. You can look at the low Army recruitment numbers and how they went to Twitch and struggled to get any ground there. And there's also talk from different commenters on how in the game description on Steam, they capitalize the S in soldiers. And nobody in the United States does this. But for those who have apparently worked in the Department of Defense's Public Affairs division, this is apparently an effort that has started since like 2005 to try to make capitalizing soldiers a thing. So, yeah, real skeptical to see this being brought back, especially when involved a lot of American war crimes at the time. And we'll see if it's a Spec Ops like painting a, war is terrible and should not be done sort of thing. But if it's as people think, it might be an American military rah-rah kind of thing, and that's actually disgusting.
Yeah, this is an absolutely bizarre headline that I don't think anybody expected to come back, and I'm looking forward to seeing it either be praised for doing the thing we know it's not going to do, or the more likely thing of it just getting destroyed critically and socially and all sorts of stuff.
Did not have it on the 2021 bingo board, that's for sure.
Boy, did we not. Meanwhile, while it's not for the thing that we talked about him for on this show, being Xenoblade Chronicles X, Hiroyuki Sawano's Aniplex catalog is now available on digital platforms. As you might have learned from our episode on Sawano, he is mostly known for doing anime soundtracks, so the anime that he has done that are now on Spotify include Promare, Kill La Kill, Seven Deadly Sins, Blue Exorcist, Guilty Crown, Recreators, Aldnoah.0, and more.
Always good to have more Sawano music available everywhere, and that's a lot of titles.
Maybe one day we'll see Xenoblade on there too. Maybe.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. French publisher Wayo Records has opened pre-orders for the ActRaiser soundtrack and symphonic suite vinyl. This is expected to ship in March 2021, but neat to see Yuzo Koshiro's original work on vinyl, and then it was like a 2018 symphony recording of that soundtrack, like a reinterpretation of it. Good to get ActRaiser music out there in the world.
This is like one of two things of like the limited release thing that I'm really, really fighting to not buy. The other being pre-orders went up today for the physical copy of To the Moon on Switch.
Oh.
And I'm fighting to not buy that too. So we'll see. But yeah, I keep having to hold myself back from jumping into the vinyl game, and this is only making it harder. Meanwhile, Kingdom Hearts is coming to PC exclusively on the Epic Games Store. It's coming on March 30th, 2021. And alright, fine. I have qualms with the Epic Games Store, but I haven't really had the level of problems that a lot of people say they have, which I believe they have. I just haven't experienced it. But the problem here is that they are all being sold at full price. That is 1.5 plus 2.5 for $50, 2.8 for $60, which is not worth $60. Kingdom Hearts 3 plus Remind for $60, which, alright, yeah, I'll give you that one. And Melody of Memory for $60, which again, I'll give you that one. That game just came out. Which is a little bit disheartening when you go to PSN and currently the all-in-one package that includes all of those games except for Melody of Memory for $25. Or usually $100. And Amazon even sells it for what, like $45?
Yeah.
Why would anybody but superfans buy the game at this price point? Like, look, here's the thing. Yeah, the race to the bottom is a real thing, and it's a real problem, and those prices should never have gone that low, probably. But they did, and now Square has drawn themselves into a corner. So, I'm very excited to see modding and stuff. I'm probably going to at least buy 1.5 plus 2.5. I don't really have much reason to buy the others. I already own them on PS4. I just want to have I just want to have 2 on PC. That sounds cool. But yeah, wow. The prices are a little bit ludicrous and ridiculous in comparison to all the other platforms.
Yeah, and you gotta figure it's because Epic paid a lot of money for the exclusivity deal. What happens when that runs out? How long does that last for? And they want to recoup some of that kickback through margins and you get that initial burst, and then maybe they cut the price eventually. But yeah, that's ridiculous for sure. I'll be interested to see how well it does. I hope it does great things for the randomizer community.
I'll be interested to see how well it runs. Square has a bit of a mixed history with PC ports of their games, so that'll be the real thing to look out for.
Also, Switch when?
Yeah, when Switch? Give me Kingdom Hearts 2 that I could take with me. I want it.
Also, when it comes to things on Spotify, Austin Wintory's Journey is on Spotify. We mentioned during the episode that we covered Journey. Oddly enough, it's not on Spotify. It was taken off for some reason. It's fixed. It's back. It's back on that Spotify playlist that we love to build so much.
Damn right. I already put it on there, and I actually listened to the whole thing throughout work today, so I'm very, very happy that it's back. And also, speaking of very happy that it's back, the last headline we have is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is available now on Switch, as Peter mentioned earlier in the show.
It literally arrived on my doorstep right before recording, so I popped it in, got the gold coins, got the update downloaded, and now we wait.
Now we wait.
But first, let's talk about the first game this week. The first of 2 games with 2 in the title. This is Beyond Two Souls. The game Beyond Two Souls was released on October 8th, 2013 for PlayStation 3 in North America. October 9th in other PAL regions, but the 11th in the UK. October 17th in Japan. Let's make a note and say that this is about a month before the launch of the PlayStation 4. It's one of the last big Sony exclusives on the PlayStation 3 platform. So yeah, you would have thought it would be a big audience that went and played this game. Well, not necessarily so. The game eventually did make its way to PlayStation 4 with an updated version on November 24th, 2015. And then the Epic Games Store got involved as they did and said, let's bring Beyond Two Souls and other David Cage games to our platform. Launched on PC on July 22nd, 2019. The game is developed by Quantic Dream and published by Sony Computer Entertainment, though when the PC version is involved, that's when Quantic Dream had split off from Sony, and so they self-published the PC port. Beyond Two Souls is an interactive drama and action-adventure game, requiring the player to move and guide the main character, her name is Jodie, into interactions with objects and other non-player characters in the scene to progress the story. Now, Jodie is spiritually tied to an incorporeal entity named Aiden, who occasionally needs to help Jodie manipulate objects or people that are out of reach or through barriers. There's also an optional co-op mode in the game where one player controls Jodie and the second player only controls the sections when control is passed over to Aiden. So it's a weird co-op mode. It works. It's functional. The story of Beyond Two Souls is that young Jodie Holmes has a psychic connection to an invisible entity named Aiden. And after an incident with some neighborhood kids results in Aiden almost killing one of them, Jodie's foster parents seek help to care for her condition, permanently leaving her under the custody of Dr. Nathan Dawkins of the United States Department of Paranormal Activity. As Jodie gets older, she tries to gain her own independence, but Aiden intervenes and ends up usually causing disaster. Through a series of events, Jodie is recruited by the CIA for her special powers, where more adventures await her in her life tied to a spirit. So the questions are, who or what is Aiden? What is Nathan Dawkins actually studying? And can Jody find peace? Joe, here's where I'll ask you, what are our experiences with Beyond Two Souls?
So I've never played it. I watched an LP of it when it first came out, because the best friends endeavor to play every David Cage game, even though they hated him. Mostly when I think of Beyond Two Souls, though, I kind of think of like the couple of like weird stories that came out of it, mostly about Cage himself, and then there was a controversy as well with something having to do with one of the in-game models, but that's really all I can think of, and I don't think I had ever gone and listened to the soundtrack, but the tracks you picked out here, it's a damn good one.
Yeah, it is a really good soundtrack, and one I've definitely wanted to bring to the show for a while, especially it's been a while since we've talked about Heavy Rain, and I do remember those controversies came up in research. I just didn't want to include it. Honestly, modders kind of stretching beyond their moral bounds in a way. I just didn't feel right to talk about.
Yeah, that makes sense. And especially since this is like supposed to be a PG podcast. It's not a PG controversy.
Yeah, we'll put it that way. But as far as my experience with Beyond Two Souls, I really liked Heavy Rain, so I was interested in Beyond Two Souls and got it at launch and played it pretty soon after launch, and I liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as I did Heavy Rain. And then I played it in co-op with someone, and that was an okay experience as well. So I played the game back to back probably within a couple months. And honestly, I remembered so little of the story because, as I sort of suggested at the top of the show, the weird part about this game when it came out is that its narrative is told out of chronological order.
Mm-hmm. And that was, they patched in a chronological version, right?
They did, yes.
That was like one of the biggest pieces of criticism that the game got in general was, hey, the story makes no sense when you don't tell it chronologically.
And so in the PS4 and PC version, it does have the option to play it in chronological order. I haven't done so yet, even though I have the PS4 version, but I wonder how that affects the game's tutorials. Because when you're talking about those early missions and you're learning how to play the game and it's from different parts of Jody's life, like I don't know how that translates with the chronological version if they repurpose the tutorials there. So I'll have to figure that out. But yes, that is a big problem in the initial release. And it is a way of telling stories, I guess. But when it's talking about like all these big, heady, supernatural topics, it's not the best way to go about it, especially with David Cage's infamous writing.
If I remember correctly, I don't think it moves the tutorials.
Cool.
They still happen in the scenes that they happen in. They didn't move them at all. So there's that. I'd say it's Cage's weakest game, but I know that Omicron the Nomad Soul exists, so I cannot actually in good conscience say that.
It's the weakest of the recent trilogy. Not that the games are a trilogy together, but I think that, yes, is fair to say. So, we talk about game director David Cage and his continuous goal of trying to create interactive cinema, especially after 2010's Heavy Rain. This led him to recruit Hollywood talent for his next project, and this resulted in the casting of Elliot Page as Jody and Willem Dafoe as Nathan Dawkins. They spent about a year, along with the rest of the main cast, on set in Quantic Dreams' Paris-based motion capture studio. The motion capture is great, honestly, for the time at the end of the PS3's life cycle. Does it have some issues when you look at it today with today's motion capture standards? Yeah, sure. But I think it's right up there with The Last of Us, also a 2013 PS3 game, as like top notch for motion capture for the industry at the time. So Quantic Dream gets that right, at least. The script for the game is also super beefy. It's apparently around 2,000 pages long. And when you think that about a movie has about usually a 95 to 125 page long script, because each page in screenwriting is usually about a minute of screen time. Elliot Page said in an interview at the time, "We do 30, 40 pages a day. It's insane compared to a film." Yes, it is. The flowchart ends up breaking down ultimately into about 24 ending variations.
I didn't realize there were that many endings. Actually, I did not know that. I figured it was like 3 or 4.
It's about like 3 main decisions. And so based on how they all break out from there, like the last one, there's like 4 options. So like that really just diverts a lot of, when you consider how the flowchart can go. Yeah, 24 makes sense, but it's all really minor stuff. Generally, like, it's the same kind of ending, except for like a big split. So yeah, no, that makes sense. When it comes to changes in the game, I found this interesting. Sometimes you have to consider with different regions, they have different standards on what's acceptable in games, especially as you push some more mature rated content. PAL regions had to have 2 scenes changed to tone down violent content, where one involved an impaled steel pipe through a neck, and then also an eye possibly being removed through torture. And this changed the PEGI rating from 18 to 16. In Japan, the shower scene with Jodie, because David Cage loves his shower scenes, they had shots cropped or they were altered to tone down the already mild nudity. And I'm sure David Cage was also proud of the fact that Beyond Two Souls was the second game that was recognized and shown at the Tribeca Film Festival. The first we noted in our episode for it was 2011's LA Noire. But yeah, they brought like 35 minutes of content from the game to Tribeca, and it's a game at a film festival.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, like, what does it mean, show? But I guess, yeah, all right, that makes sense. I didn't know if it was like they brought a booth with a bunch of TVs and people got to play it.
No, yeah. Yeah, I guess like just showing the interactive, sort of scene play out, and probably someone just backstage making the decisions or the quick time events there. Reviews for Beyond Two Souls were rather mixed, with a Metacritic of 70 for the original PlayStation 3 version. The PS4 got 72 and PC got 76. Some points of praise included the performances of both Page and Defoe, the elaborate motion capture, the interactive storytelling mechanics, the emotional soundtrack, and the ability to appeal to non-gamers. However, criticisms were passive and unrewarding gameplay, with a muddy, unfocused narrative, with an unbelievable premise and an inconsistent tone and atmosphere. And for a game that requires a narrative to be very strong for interactive cinema, I mean, that's everything. And so when that doesn't work, the game doesn't really work. Electronic Gaming Monthly in particular noted how it, quote, respects Quantic Dream's years of audacity pushing the boundaries of the game medium, yet it ultimately failed to listen to feedback and instead delivered yet another flawed experiment, better in some ways, worse in others, end quote. But yeah, we note that the PS4 and PC version do have that chronological order option. I think when I return to this game, if I ever do, that's how I'm going to play it. The game sold 2.8 million copies as of May 2018, and this doesn't count the PC version, so it's only gone up since then, I'm sure. The game was nominated at the BAFTAs for Best Artistic Achievement, Best Original Music, and Best Performer for Page. It was nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Animation, Original Music Composition, and Story at the DICE Awards. Defoe and Page were also nominated for their performances at the Spike Video Game Awards, and it won Best Soundtrack Album at the Gang Awards, while it was nominated for Audio of the Year and Best Dialogue. As far as Beyond Two Souls' legacy, you have David Cage's game after that, which was Detroit Become Human, that released for PlayStation 4 on May 25th, 2018. And Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human are often bundled together, whether it's on PS4 or PC. The soundtrack has a bit of a history to it. And as far as who we're highlighting today on the show, it is finally time to talk about Lorne Balfe. Lorne Balfe was born on February 23rd, 1976, in Inverness, Scotland, in the UK. He grew up in a musical household with his dad as a songwriter, and he went to Fettes College in Edinburgh, where he had a music scholarship. He is a veteran of the Hans Zimmer Remote Control Productions studio, so oftentimes works with Hans Zimmer, gets projects through that studio. His Wikipedia name also had him as an AKA Oswin Macintosh. No idea on that one. But recently he has been particularly in the public eye as he is the conductor of the Game Awards Symphony Orchestra.
Hey, I did not know that.
So yeah, when Jeff Keighley trots out the symphony orchestra that plays the music during the show, particularly the Game of the Year nominees before the big end, yeah, Lorne Balfe is the conductor for that. You can find him on Twitter at Lorne Balfe, LorneBalfe. He has done quite a number of projects, but as far as the ones that he is primarily contributed to, as far as games, there's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Crysis 2, Skylanders Spyro's Adventure and its several expansions, Assassin's Creed Revelations and Assassin's Creed 3, Beyond Two Souls, Arena of Valor, and FIFA 19's The Journey mode. For films, he's composed for Megamind, The Dilemma, Penguins of Madagascar, Home, Terminator Genesis, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, The Lego Batman Movie, Ghost in the Shell, Pacific Rim Uprising, Mission Impossible Fallout. He's also on tap for the 7th and 8th Mission Impossible films, Gemini Man, 6 Underground, Bad Boys for Life, and the next film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As of this recording, he's composed on Black Widow.
That's also something I didn't know. That is neat.
That I also learned. Yeah, that's pretty cool. As far as TV goes, some projects of note include The Bible, Marcella, The Crown, Genius, His Dark Materials, and Pennyworth.
I forgot Pennyworth was a show.
Yeah, many of DC's projects you can say that about, I suppose. Anyway, this soundtrack is particularly sad, and it's notable in a sad way because Heavy Rain's composer, Norman Corbeil, who we covered when we talked about that episode for Heavy Rain, he originally worked on the score, and yet, as you may know about Norman Corbeil, he passed away from pancreatic cancer on January 25th, 2013. So the game is overall dedicated to him, and Lorne Balfe came in to finish up the score. Hans Zimmer even joined in a producer role in August 2013, so a couple months before the game shipped. Other composers that were listed on the soundtrack include Max Arouge, Andrew Christie, Gary Dworetzky, and Dieter Hartmann. But yeah, I mean, always one of the saddest headlines to read about Corbeil's passing. I mean, even at the time, I remember that hitting, and I can only imagine, to have to come in, finish up the project, take someone's work, and try to make it work fully in the game.
That's not a position that I envy anybody for being in.
Absolutely. But because they were primarily used to composing for films with Balfe and Zimmer helping, it makes sense that they jump on a David Cage project. For a game that's more cinematic, it must have been not easy, but certainly easier for a film composer to come in and grab the reins and finish things up. It was recorded at Air Studios in London by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. And in a behind-the-scenes little featurette video, Hans Zimmer was kind of speaking about the process, and especially when it comes to working with filmmakers who, in this sense, David Cage fancies himself a filmmaker working on games. But Zimmer notes that a filmmaker has a vision, and he can tell you about how a scene looks and what the cameras will do and all that, but it's the music composer's job to fill in what the director can't put into words. And like, that's the power of music.
That's a good philosophy. I like that philosophy.
Yeah, I do look forward to when we bring Hans Zimmer to the show. That should be good. But let's talk about the 5 critical tracks for Beyond Two Souls. And we start with this first track here. This is Beyond. This is the theme I think I most associate with the game. It's just a track I love listening to personally. And it's not like the main theme or whatever, but you know, when you're talking about Beyond, there's probably some importance there. So it starts with this electronic soundscape, and then it transitions sharply into this heavy percussion and the orchestra going strongly. I often think about, when it comes to Lorne Balfe's composition, I think of the track Labored and Lost from Assassin's Creed Revelations. And it's the track in that game that plays during the apocalyptic flashback. But as far as like the key and the vibe, it's very, very similar to that. And I just personally draw a lot of parallels to it in my mind. But yeah, as far as like the tension, the stakes, I love the heavy drop here, and it's just such a good listen. Really enjoy this one.
This is a good song to start out the Critical 5 with, because when I listened to it for the first time, it pretty much cemented like, oh no, this is going to be really good. This song is super cool. I think this song is actually my favorite on the Critical 5. And yeah, that transition just hits real good.
I agree with you. Like, I think it's my favorite, and it's one of those ones, like, if we brought up games and only had to bring up one track, like, this is the one track.
God, can you imagine that show? Imagine doing Chrono Trigger for that show.
No, impossible. Can't do it. Not for Chrono Trigger. Oh, man. But let's move on to the next one, the number 2 on the Critical 5. This is Jodie's Suite. So, as you might surmise, this is the main theme for Jodie. And I think if people try to think what's the main theme of this game, this would be it. Because it's a suite, the track goes places, but I feel like this is the best representation of this melody in the track, because it's a pretty common leitmotif throughout the game. You're talking about the journey of a girl throughout her life, through multiple ages, and her interaction with this entity. So obviously this like, that's gonna come up a lot in the score, at least, you know, different stems here and there. The vocals in this track are done by Tori Letzler, and I personally like, near the end of the clip, you kind of hear this na 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 na, like there's this little minor dip that kind of takes a little swerve off the path, if you will. I think it's neat. That kind of like represents, you know, like she's the hero of the game, she's the protagonist, so overall it's a light, positive piece, but there's something off with her character, and there's a deeper mystery there, so there's just that little twist. I really, really enjoy that.
Or the deeper twist there could just be trying to represent Aiden, though obviously the next critical track kind of throws that into doubt, but I don't know. That's where I took it at first.
I mean, yeah, I think there's kind of the same thing. Like there's some influence there.
Cause like they're both vitally connected through the whole story. So her journey is his journey and all that. But yeah, these vocals are fantastic. Tori Letzler killed it. And yeah, this is a really good piece.
Let's get to number 3 on the Critical 5. You mentioned it. It is Aiden's theme. So yes, another character theme. This one for the spiritual entity of Aiden. And I love how this is almost like just a stark contrast. I mean, yes, Jody is a person and Aiden is a spirit. Obviously, big difference there. But whereas Jody is mostly like it's a positive, kind of uplifting piece with vocals, this just slow, ominous melody with the orchestra. It's dark. It's really just cool and like just kind of bubbling under the surface. It just really represents these unknown powers that Aiden has that you'll get to use as the player throughout the game. But I feel like, yeah, you're right. Like when it comes to like a kind of dark minor tone with like Aiden's influence, that's a pretty good interpretation. When you get to his leitmotif here, his main theme, yeah, that's checks out.
And also, like, this theme sort of reflects the fact that whatever the hell Aiden is, he's not nice.
Yeah.
He's not a nice whatever he is.
Sometimes he even goes against what Jody wants. Like he has his own personality for a spirit that can't talk and can only interact with the world in certain ways.
Yeah, so I think this kind of being a direct reflection of what most of Jody's themes are, like, yeah, that works out really well.
Number 4 on the critical track. Let's get into some action here. This is The Experiment. In one of the tutorial levels early in the game when it's being told out of order and all that, I mean, granted, Jody's still a little girl in this case, but she's at the Department of Paranormal Activity and her abilities are being tested. And so this is a way for you, the player, to learn, like, this is how you can take control of Aiden. This is what Aiden can do. This is the different kind of ways that he can interact. And so when you're having this experiment of some government employee in the room and Jody's like kind of walled off, like, can she see what's going on in that room? Can she interact with that other room with Aiden? And Aiden starts to become a bit too good with his skills to the point where Jody loses control and you as the player can just start messing with everything in the room, and this freaks the government employee out hard. So when this track is all about chaos, just this intense orchestra with the very heavy percussion, it's just a wall of sound here, and yet you get these howling, high-pitched noises that kind of run through the piece, almost spectral noises, ghost-like noises, suggesting Aiden's presence in this action. It's just a cool, chaotic, intense piece, and I think it really deserved to be here for a pretty memorable tutorial, honestly.
Is it weird if I say that when I hear this song, it reminds me of the Dark Knight and Batman Begins?
I can see it. I mean, Lorne Balfe did supporting music for those films. I mean, with Hans Zimmer doing the main composing. So I could see that, yeah.
That's the main take I get from this. But also, I think this is a pretty solid second place in terms of favorite tracks on this Critical 5. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one. But I like, in particular, I mean, beyond Jody's Suite, those are good standout pieces. But I think a sneaky good one is number 5 here on the Critical 5 tracks for Beyond Two Souls. This is the Infraworld. So you kind of have this electronic pattern sound supported with strings at the beginning and then another percussion drop. And when these drops hit, like, it's so effective, it's so cool. And it just really propels the action up, because this takes place in the last level of the game, or at least one of the big last stretches of action, where you as Jody, you're kind of doing this stealth in this big, I mean, the infraworld is this kind of ghostly plane in a way, and there are all these dark shadow monsters that fly around almost like Matrix Sentinels in a way. And so you have to obviously avoid the big shadow scary monsters. So the action and the sound really supports, like, oh, like, there's danger here, there's the stakes, you gotta go shut down this big reactor. And wow, I think for this kind of action set piece, like, the music is really well done here.
Yeah, those heavy drums are some good stuff. How do I not remember this section of the game even remotely?
I didn't really either, to be honest. It took watching a long play to be like, oh yeah, that's this piece here playing in. Oh, that happens to that. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I guess.
How do you write a scene that includes giant shadow monsters in an alternate dimension and make it less memorable than a scene where a character is in a closet during a birthday party? Like, how do you do that? I don't understand. How did that happen?
Good question. David Cage may have the answer. I don't know.
That's what I'm worried of.
Well, as good as those Critical 5 are, I do have a couple tracks that are on the cutting room floor. One of these is Lost Cause.
Sorry eyes, they cut through the bone, make it hard to leave you alone.
So here's the thing about this one. There's a track called Lost Cause on the soundtrack release, and I picked that one originally for the cutting room floor because it's a cool guitar vibe that we hadn't really heard in the other tracks, and kind of showed the diversity a bit. But then on YouTube searches, you search Beyond Two Souls Lost Cause, and this track pops up, because this is the actually really memorable scene in the game where Jody is homeless. She stumbles across a guitar, and you can take the time to sit and watch Jody play guitar and sing. And so this is Elliot Page singing, and it's actually a cover of the original song by Beck Hansen, or Beck, from his 2002 album Sea Change.
So what is the difference between this and the one that's actually on the soundtrack?
So I don't even know if it actually plays during the homeless section. I would have thought, based on what the track originally sounded like, maybe it plays on this one where like she goes to the ranch, so like the desert sort of area, and like maybe she's stumbling along the road there. I don't think it's what it is. I had a hard time even pinning where the soundtrack version even was, but like obviously this is much more sparse. Elliot Page singing, like it's totally different. Just happens to be the same title.
That's interesting. Odd.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever come across anything like that before. The other one I did want to include, though, on the cutting room floor is Black Sun. This plays near the very end of the game, when Jodie reaches the Black Sun at the end of the infraworld. She learns who or what Aiden is, and she has a big choice to make. And especially when the piano comes in here, that is, once you've put in your decision and she's made the choice of what action she will take, taking the divergent path, and the music continues on there. It's a powerful moment in the game. It's one of the biggest choices you can make in the game, honestly, and I think it's supported well with this nice emotional piece.
Yeah, this is a very, very nice piece, honestly. You know I love me some piano. This is well established after 108 episodes, but yeah, it's good stuff.
So what will I never forget about Beyond Two Souls? Honestly, for playing it twice in pretty quick succession back in 2013, I forgot a lot. So I may have to play the game again at some point, maybe an interesting one to play for my fiance, perhaps in another co-op version, but maybe in a in a chronological order this time. I don't know. We'll see.
I barely remember anything. Like I said, I never played it. I just watched an LP of it. And I don't really remember much about that Let's Play, so I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go rewatch the Let's Play on my end.
Yeah, I hear you, but at the same time, it's like time is valuable, especially as an adult when you're playing games, and do you want to spend it on a David Cage game? I don't know. But yeah, and a great soundtrack, one I had to bring to the show for sure. Been itching to actually talk about this game for a while. This was on the radar originally for our Her Story episode. It was in slot for that, and then it just kept getting pushed back. I'm like, I had to talk about Her Story because I just played it that week, and I'm just glad I got to finally get to Beyond Two Souls.
I think it got pushed back like a second time. I don't remember what game it was pushed back for, though. So
I can't remember either, but like I'm glad we've gotten to it now. So to transition to our next game, we'll talk about a fan cover, fan remake, whether it's on YouTube, OC Remix, wherever. Elizabeth Froelich has done an acoustic guitar cover of Jodie's Suite, and yet she titles it Beyond Two Souls. I think it's a nice, mellow version of this really notable leitmotif from the game. Hope you enjoy it. We'll be right back.
in what is probably a good hard second place in our tone change category. This is probably the closest we've ever come to Devil May Cry and Kirby's Epic Yarn. We're going to talk about Mario Party 2. Now, Mario Party 2 was originally released in Japan on December 17th, 1999 for the Nintendo 64. North America would follow on January 24th, 2000. Europe would not get it until October 12th, 2000. And Australia would have to wait even longer, not getting it until November 6th, 2000. It would also later on down the line be added to Wii and Wii U Virtual Consoles in 2010 and 2016 respectively. It was developed by Hudson Soft, may they rest in peace, and published by Nintendo. It is the sequel, in case you didn't catch this from the title, to 1998's Mario Party. It actually, apparently in Japan, released almost to the day a year later than the first game. The first game having been released on December 18th. So 1 day before it would have been to the day a year later.
God, can you imagine the turnaround? That's crazy.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that because it's nuts. So, Mario Party 2 is a party game. I know, it seems rather self-evident. For up to 4 players. I'm going to explain this even though I can't imagine anybody listening to this show has never seen or played a Mario Party game. But it is a party game played on a series of board game style maps. In this game specifically, it is Pirate Land, Western Land, Space Land, Mystery Land, Horror Land, and Bowser Land. There are 6 playable characters from the Mario series, being Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Wario, Peach, and Donkey Kong. In this game, players take turns rolling a dice block in order to decide how many spaces forward they'll get to move, with the goal being to get to a space where you can buy a star. And every time somebody gets to that space and buys the star then moves to a different random space on the map, and the cycle repeats itself over and over again. And once everybody has had their turn, the 4 players are then dropped into a variety of minigames. I looked it up, there are 65 minigames in Mario Party 2. 21 of them are 4-player free-for-all things, 12 are 2 versus 2, 11 are 1 versus 3, and the rest of them are either battle, item, or duel minigames. And winning these minigames will net you coins, which can then be used to purchase stars or items, such as mushrooms that provide more dice blocks, or a lamp that just takes you straight to the star. Really? Why is that an item they can just buy? At the end of the game, the player with the most stars wins, and if players tie in terms of stars, the winner is based on which player has more coins. But also, the game gives out bonus stars at the end of the game. And these can be for anything from you landed on the most blue spaces, or you got the most coins, and these can legitimately take somebody from last place to first place at certain points. And they are both the worst and best thing about Mario Party. And weirdly enough, Mario Party 2 does have a plot. Did you know that? Did you know it has a story?
Oh, gosh, no.
The story is, according to Wikipedia, quote, Mario and his friends create a world built from their dreams and get into a debate over who the new world would be named after. When Bowser arrives and invades the land, the group takes Toad's suggestion to name it after the superstar who defeats Bowser. And that's it. That's the whole thing. That's Mario Party. It's an RNG-laden hell that will destroy friendships and cause you to want to throw your friends into a well. And that's where I'll ask you, Peter, what are your experiences with Mario Party 2?
The few I've had are not good. I don't particularly like Mario Party, but I do recognize that 2 is generally the best one. I think it's up there with 3. People can kind of go back and forth between what they think is the best one. But I mean, my experiences are not great with Mario Party, so I'll just leave it at that.
I adore Mario Party with flaming hatred. And every time we have a friend gathering, a game of Mario Party 2 happens. And they have been some of the most memorable parts of those gatherings. There's actually a video somewhere on the internet, I think on the old SMYN Let's Play channel, of a game of Mario Party 2 that might still be one of my favorite things to have been around for ever. It was incredible. And yeah, I love Mario Party. it's evil and it's mean and it sucks, but I love Mario Party, and I especially love Mario Party 2. I believe you are correct. Mario Party 2 is generally considered the best one. 3 is usually up there. I think one of the GameCube ones is supposed to be pretty good too.
Okay.
But Mario Party's had a rough go of it since the 64, and we'll get into that later. But let's talk about what went into creating Mario Party 2. The original Mario Party was actually super profitable for Nintendo. I believe it was like ranked the 4th most rented game for like a half a year. And so obviously, Hudson Soft was asked to begin developing a sequel in July of 1999, which was over half a year after the first one released. And that means this game was made in about half a year because it came out in Japan in December of 1999.
Wow.
And like, even when you consider that they were kind of just building off the first game's engine, that is really impressive to make a game in that amount of time. In fact, even more impressive, the first showing of the game was at Nintendo Space World in August of 1999, where a playable demo was available a month after the game had started development.
That's incredible. I mean, you think, maybe just add some more mini games, more maps, but at least the foundations were there. My goodness.
So they actually had to make a bunch of new mini games because one major change from the original Mario Party was the removal of mini games that required rotation of the control stick. A lot of games in the first Mario Party require you to rotate the control stick as fast as you can to win, and this was apparently leading players to injure themselves while they tried to do it.
Oh yeah, infamous, especially palms.
Oh yeah, it led to people getting blisters, they had friction burns, some of them actually had straight up lacerations. Like, it was really bad. Apparently nobody ever actually sued Nintendo over this, but according to Wikipedia, about 90 complaints were filed with the New York Attorney General's office, and Nintendo then agreed to provide gloves for anybody that had hurt their hands while playing the game, which is estimated to have cost the company around $80 million. They also had to pay the state of New York $75,000 in legal fees. So, yeah, those kind of minigames went away very quickly.
It's kind of incredible when you think it's like, oh, we'll give you gloves after you've cut your hand. Like,
yeah, it's a bit of a weird choice. Apparently, this also led to Mario Party 1 was never released on Virtual Console, ever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
2 and I think 3 were for sure, but 1 never ended up on there. So they distanced themselves pretty hard from that. Apparently, like, rotating didn't come back until the 3DS one, because the slide pad wasn't going to cut anybody if they were rotating it fast.
Yeah.
So the only change in localization that I was able to find, apparently, in the Japanese release, at the end of Western Land, at the end of every board, there is a cutscene of the winner taking on Bowser's persona from that world. So I believe in Western it's Bowser's the Brash or something like that. And at the end, in that cutscene, the Superstar and Bowser have a shootout. And in the Western version, they have a shootout with toy cork guns that make a popping noise when they're shooting. But apparently in Japan, they were revolvers. Real revolvers.
I mean, more authentic.
So, in Japan, a character shot Bowser with a real gun. And that is amazing. And I'm angry that they changed it. Damn you, ESRB and Peggy. The game was overall received pretty well. Game Rankings put a score of 76%. That was the aggregator before Metacritic. Remember, this was back in the days before Metacritic. That's weird to think about. The weirdest thing I read on the Wikipedia article is that apparently critics disagreed on whether or not the graphics had or had not been improved between games. Some reviews said that they were definitely a step up from the graphics of Mario Party 1, while other reviews noted that they seemed to be the same.
Look, it was an early time of 3D game graphics.
It was like a super weird thing to be like in disagreement on. I wanted to bring that up because that's probably the weirdest diversion I've ever found in any review anything.
Sure.
That's like if somebody was like looking at Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time and like, oh yeah, the models are completely changed out. And another one going, no, they're not. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how that happened. But as a whole, Mario Party 2 is generally counted among the best multiplayer experiences that can be found on the N64. And Mario Party continued well past it. You had one more on the N64, being Mario Party 3, then 4 games on the GameCube, being 4, 5, 6, and 7, 2 on the Wii, being Mario Party 8 and 9, which I forgot 9 was a thing somehow. I didn't realize there was a second Mario Party on the Wii. Mario Party 10 for Wii U. Super Mario Party for Switch is the most recent major release, but it also had multiple handheld games, being Mario Party Advance for the GBA, Mario Party DS for the DS, Island Tours, Star Rush, and the Top 100, all 3 of which are for the 3DS. There are also, I had no idea, 6 arcade games that did not leave Japan. And there was even an e-reader game.
Oh yeah, e-reader.
Yeah, I did not know there was an e-reader Mario Party game. Generally speaking, I believe after 8, Mario Party went super downhill to the point where Super Mario Party should have been a slam dunk, and somehow they managed to screw it up.
Yeah.
Mario Party hasn't been good for a really long time, and it's kind of sad because I want an old school style Mario Party game, and Nintendo just seems like they do not want to make one ever again. That's when you start to get the car where everybody is rolling the same dice and you're all moving together and it's everybody wins and it's less competitive and it's stupid. I want cutthroat Mario Party like our forefathers before us. Give it to me, Nintendo. Anyways, the main composer, the top billing composer in Mario Party 2 is Hironao Yamamoto, and I could find absolutely nothing on him. According to the Nintendo fandom wiki, which was the only place I could find with an article on him, he began working at Hudson Soft in 1993. That article clearly hasn't been updated recently because it said 1993 to present.
Ooh.
Hudson Soft's been closed for 5-6 years, if not more?
It's been a while.
It's been a good long while since Hudson went under. So, he seems to have left the industry after 2001, too. Every site I looked at, Moby Games, VGMDB, none of them list him as having worked on anything after 2001. So, he's just out. He just left the industry, I guess. But in terms of that discography, he was the sound effects coordinator on Fatal Fury Special. He did music for Super Bomberman 3, Saturn Bomberman. I don't know what that is. I assume one on the Sega Saturn? I don't know.
Maybe.
He was a music programmer on the original Mario Party, and then he worked on the soundtrack for Mario Party 2. He apparently did the opening movie music for Sonic Shuffle, and then he was once again on the music team for Mario Party 3, and the last game that I can find him having worked on was Bomberman Online, a game I did not know existed, but here we are. And like I said, it seems like he just vanished off the face of the earth. Moby Games has nothing after that. But he's not the only one that worked on the soundtrack. The soundtrack also credits Shohei Bando, Kazuhiko Sabaguchi, and the original composer for Mario Party 1, which I had forgotten about until today, and I'm pretty sure I learned about it on this show, Yasunori Mitsuda.
I forgot about it too. What the heck?
Yeah, I feel like this was probably brought up in the Chrono Trigger episode, but I still went wait, that was him? What? So, interesting rediscovery there. So what does this cutthroat, evil game that will make your friendships end instantly. What does it sound like, at least? Well, I think it has a pretty alright soundtrack, I'll be real. And we're going to start those 5 critical tracks with Pirate Land. For some reason, this is the one I think about the most. I don't know why. It's got this nice steel drum melody. I think that Pirate Land might be my favorite map in the game, too, because of those stupid cannons. They're the funniest thing when they're happening to other people and not you, which kind of sums up Mario Party in general. And you can hear in the clip the like trumpet part. I've always dug that, too. I don't know. I think this is just kind of a fun song.
The trumpet part is definitely a lot of fun. But it's one of these tracks where you hear it and it's like, yeah, that's Nintendo 64.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing when you can, it's things like, name that tune kind of thing. And especially for video games, like the big trick is like, first you got to tell like what console it's from, if you can, if it's old enough. And like, yeah, this totally pegs it. It's N64 for sure.
Oh, 100%. That sound font is well known at this point. Following that, we have my second favorite map, but honestly, I actually think this is my favorite because I've been whistling it for the past week. Western Land. Now, you know what this here party needs, Peter?
What's that, Joe?
We need a hootenanny.
Yeehaw!
Western Land is the best map because you can walk up to a bar and be like, I want to have a hootenanny. And then it brings every single player to that spot. And one of my favorite memories is actually watching our friend Matt and his friends play Mario Party 2 on Western Land, where they just decided, nah, screw it. I'm doing a hootenanny every turn. Every turn that I can. And the game just, nobody could move. And I think it's absolutely hilarious. Again, the fact that any of us grew up with any relationship with anybody that plays Mario Party 2 with us is a testament to the strength of friendship, because Mario Party 2 tries really hard, but also, man, the fiddle part is just, oh, that melody is so fun. I absolutely adore this song. It's better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, wow, super catchy. And you've always mentioned, like, we need more banjos in music tracks. Well, there you go.
Always.
Need more banjos. And so, yeah, very fitting to set the stage if any real life brawls break out in your living room.
Following that, though, is actually going to be another song that reaffirms my theory from last week, and that is Horrorland. Once again, gonna ask, is 3-4 just the spookiest time signature? Have we all just agreed on that?
I mean, it was the first thing I thought of immediately on hearing this song for the first time.
Because it's another waltz. It's another waltz for the spooky level. That we've all agreed, I feel like, at this point. I really like this song. I love spooky waltzes. I brought that up last week, too. It's so fun, and this honestly is a pretty top-tier spooky waltz, not gonna lie.
Is it weird that when like the little glockenspiel comes in at the end, I almost think back to Clock Tower with the main theme there? Like it kind of gives me those vibes a little bit. I mean,
yeah, I could see that
90s game, right? But yeah, so no, they picked a great one. I mean, great instrument choices, and yeah, that 3/4.
This is probably it's probably tied with Pirate Land for my favorite. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention any of the minigame songs, because those are all a lot of fun as well. But while it wouldn't have been my first pick, when I found out what game this song plays on, this is the one. That's all of it. So this plays during the most stressful Mario Party minigame that's ever been made. It is called Bowser's Big Blast, and the main idea behind this minigame is that there are 5 levers and a Bowser head behind you, and you all take turns walking onto a platform and pushing down one of the plungers. And one of them makes the head explode, and the other 4 don't.
It's like Russian roulette.
It's literally Russian roulette. It is infamous as one of the most if you're not sweating while playing this game, then you have no soul. I am scared of you. It's so mean. And I think it's just the perfect encapsulation of what Mario Party 2 really just does to get ya. This game used to be mean, damn it. But also, this is a very catchy song. Like I said, I don't think it's my favorite minigame song, but I needed to be able to mention Bowser's Big Blast. It was very important that I did that.
It's a simple little ditty, but it's effective. And when you're talking about one of those iconic mini games, yeah, it definitely deserves to be here.
That and Bumper Balls. Those are the 2 best ones.
Where you can win by doing nothing.
When we play Mario Party 2 at like friend gatherings and stuff, if Bumper Balls comes up, the entire room starts chanting Bumper Balls, Bumper Balls. And I don't know how that started, but I love it. So let's get into critical track number 5, Bowser Land. This is notable because it is the final board. It has a really weirdly epic feel to it. I feel like it might be a little too much for a Mario Party board, to be honest. But like, I believe you have to play a game on all of the other boards before you can unlock this one to play on. I don't know, I feel like there's too much going on to really have the same feel that Mario Party is having, because there's just something about being on a board game while some of the cheeriest music in the world plays, and you are so angry at everybody that's brought you to this point in your life. And I don't know, I think having this one be like an epic evil sounding song is just a little bit, it goes against that a little bit. I don't know.
but I think it is effective if that's what they're trying to portray. Is it a bit much? Yes. But I like the back half of the clip where it's doing like it's a neat little falling effect. I definitely dig that.
I admittedly have never played on Bowserland. I've never unlocked it because I haven't actually owned Mario Party 2 myself in a really long time. I should probably buy that on Virtual Console, but I don't have anybody to play with, so probably not. Anyways, in terms of tracks on the cutting room floor, I put some suggestions down. You grabbed a couple. Hit me with them.
Well, one of them, I'm part mad and part happy that you left it, like, because it's like, Joe, you left me the only Mario Party song I know in existence. This is In the Pipe. And it's the main menu where you're picking your character and your rules before you play the game. And like everyone's running there and you got the trombone. Like it's classic. Like it's the only song I know. I'm like, well, you left it here for me. I'm gonna take it. It's gotta be here somewhere.
This almost ended up on the Critical 5. I'm not gonna lie. Just cause like you hear this song and visceral memories come to you immediately.
Yeah, it's iconic to me who doesn't like Mario Party.
And you instantly know that you are in for both a good time and the worst time you've ever had playing a video game.
Precisely, yeah. But the other one that stood out, and I'm like, yeah, we'll throw this on there because it's neat. This is Spaceland. On a console that had Star Fox 64, and it's kind of reminiscent about that. I, for some reason, can only think of Buzz Lightyear to the rescue.
Yeah, I can get that. I understand that. That makes sense.
It's got a Star Command vibe. What can I say?
Spaceland kind of has a really special place in my heart because the one I talked about that's somewhere on YouTube, it was played on Spaceland. It is the angriest I've ever seen our friend Luke get at a Mario Party game ever, because Spaceland has this mechanic where if you land on a certain type of space, then a thwomp in a police car chases you multiple steps away from where it might even be to the start. I don't remember, but it happened to Luke several times. It was absolutely hysterical. I wasn't playing in that game, so that's probably why I remember it fondly, but just wonderful. For me, I also got two, the first being the last of the stage music that didn't get mentioned. Mysteryland. Got more steel drums in this, which is not really what I would peg for Mysteryland, but like it also has this ancient, I get vibes of ancient Egypt personally.
Yeah, I think pyramids for sure.
Which is weird because Mysteryland is based on like Stonehenge and stuff.
Oh, weird.
So I think it's just supposed to be general ancient ruins and stuff like that, and there's aliens there too. It's odd. But yeah, I think this song is pretty neat. It's good.
Yeah, supports a whole hodgepodge.
And then, I mentioned it earlier, but my favorite minigame song is actually Keepin' on the Path. If you hear this song and you've played Mario Party, you should have the visceral reaction of hearing Toad say, "Start!" at the beginning of this song.
That's pretty good. Nice job.
I absolutely love the song. I think it plays during the face warping minigame. I don't remember exactly which minigames this has, but I love this song. It, again, the dichotomy between happy, cheerful music and the fact that within minutes you are probably going to want to throw hands with the people on the couch next to you. It's just such a fun dichotomy, and you don't get it from any game but Mario Party and I guess Dokapon Kingdom, which I might have to look into that game. So what will I never forget about Mario Party 2? It's the best Mario Party game. Fight me. I don't know how many people will fight me. I know there are some fans of like one of the GameCube ones. I think 5 is held in pretty high regard. But 2 is the best one. And I will go to my grave thinking that. But like I said, I mostly just remember having friend gatherings where we just sort of sit around and we watch 4 people play a short game of Mario Party 2, and it's some of the most entertaining times I've had with our friends. It's so fun. I love Mario Party. Part of me is glad it's bad now, but also I'm really sad that it's bad now.
I would rather not talk about my Mario Party experiences. It's a bit rough. But you know what's not rough? These soundtracks. These soundtracks are great, even though the disparity between the two tones and themes could not be any more different, I think. But they are both games with 2 in the title, with Beyond Two Souls and Mario Party 2. And that will do it for us this week on Original Soundchat. You can find me on Twitter at PeteSpeakeasy. Joe is over at The Dobaga. The video version of the show is on the Rhymes with Asia YouTube channel, but it's that MP3 podcast version that you want, hosted by Anonymous Dinosaur at anondino.squarespace.com. That's where Joe's other podcast, Smasherpieces, is hosted. And hey, you should go check out Smasherpieces and Original Soundchat on podcast services around the globe to download, subscribe, and listen. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us, both for Smasherpieces and Original Soundchat. That'll help us grow and reach new ears and get more feedback and good fun that way. You can also check out the podcast on Spotify, where we have a podcast feed with all of our episodes, but also a Spotify playlist. We mentioned at the top of the show, Journey is getting added since it's finally back on Spotify, and we've talked about Journey on the show before, but is anything getting added this week from this episode, Joe?
Well, I mean, you already know the answer to is Mario Party on Spotify. I don't think this soundtrack actually ever got an official release, as far as I could tell.
But it's Nintendo.
Yeah. Even if it had gotten one, it wouldn't be on Spotify. But Beyond Two Souls is on Spotify, so that'll be added to the playlist.
Excellent. So when you're done listening there, you can find us on social media at Soundchat OST and leave feedback for us, how we're doing, and also some suggestions for future games that you'd like us to cover, because that's one of our big goals for 2021 is to cover more of those. Our merch store situation is still getting worked out. Hopefully we'll have an answer for you by the end of the month.
I'm hoping to have an answer on merch by the time we record the next episode.
Okay, fingers crossed. We will see. And then we'll work on some more bonus tracks for you. Joe, who are we talking about next week?
I will be talking about Cynthia Harrell.
Interesting. I'll be talking about Jun Fukuda. All right, Joe, let's play us out.
I feel like this is the first time this instrument has come up on this show. Being the automaton, which is, if you've ever seen like the weird music note things with like a mouth and eyes, that's an automaton. And I found a YouTuber who, this might actually be one of my favorite transition or enders I've ever found. It is by YouTuber MK Lachu. That's MKLACHU. First of all, you need to go look at the video for this. It's Western Land, automaton, and violin cover. You need to go watch the video because it's something. But it's just, this is a really, really, really good cover of this song. So please enjoy that.
It is delightful. Thank you so much for listening this week on Original Soundchat. We'll see you next time. Take care.